look like you're
Ross, let me ask you a question really quick.
sure.
Like, do you see the value in having structured interactions where, like, let's use the M3 model for example, real quick, because you know the
Yes.
M3 model. Mystery is a big believer in build attraction, then build comfort, and then seduce, right? What do you think of structuring out an interaction, and what do you think of my idea of having a structure that can be changed with,
I've had a structure and modular structures for speed seduction for over 30 years. There's a distinction between structure
Mhm.
and complicating. Let me finish since you asked me the question. I'm going to give you a thorough answer. Yes, there's structure, and there's also room to play and to improvise. You have to have both. Now, let me draw a further distinction. I think Mystery's idea that you have to do things in a certain order, create comfort, then whatever it is, I don't know the model, comfort, attraction, whatever. First, it was find, meet, and attract, and then it evolved. I'm here to tell you that my students and I have been creating simultaneously comfort and arousal and attraction at the same time. They don't
Mhm.
have to be done sequentially. That's number one.
Agreed.
Number two, there's a distinction between being thorough and being overcomplicated. We can be thorough to the point, thorough is good. Thorough means you're just complicated to the point where people can achieve results. Overcomplicated means that you're just throwing too much stuff there in an attempt to cover every possible contingency and situation. And there comes a time when it's hard, it really genuinely is hard to make that call as to whether you're overcomplicating things. I'm speaking personally too, or whether you're being sufficient. Not always the easiest thing to do. And my third thing, I was being interruptive, and but I was also making a serious point. It's a personal peccadillo of mine. A what is the word? Getting older.
Definitions, please. What's a peccadillo?
Peccadillo is something that annoys you. It's a personal thing that annoys me when anyone, in any context, in any field, takes on the terminology of science, the patina, the gloss of science, without taking on the rigors of science. As an example, when people are in the spiritual field and they talk about the law of attraction, I always get on their case about what do you mean by law?
Hmm.
Interpreting the scientific term law, it appears like science, but it's not. So, yeah, I was picking on you a little bit,
Or
but
the law of state transference, right? There's no law of state transference. There's a tendency for humans to detect other people's
correct,
emotions, but there's no law of
correct,
transferring your state
correct,
over.
correct. So, uh, to my credit, I've never claimed speed seduction as a science. I've always said it's a model, it's a map, it's open,
Same.
it's an open-ended architecture. It's subject to error. It's open to change. I've had students contribute to it and brought them up on stage and said, "You've done a better job than I have. Teach it." And so that's just my commentary. I pop back in with the
Ross,
hope of getting questions
wait,
because
Ross, really quick, you gotta let me respond to that, please. Please let me respond. And I would like to give a quick, thorough response as well. I agree with you that we don't have to build all of these things in a sequential order. So what I've done is I've taken four key elements that I believe to be fundamental to developing a loving relationship with somebody. And they can be, that's the key word, they can be arranged in different ways uh, as linear training wheels for guys, right? I have five different paths. You can build attraction and then build a psychological bond, then a physical bond, then an emotional bond. You can rearrange those steps in five different orders to give a guy a baseline understanding of some general ways that we can fall in love with a woman, right? But the ultimate place you want to get to is where you're building all of these elements simultaneously and spontaneously and intuitively. So these are just linear training wheels. So I agree with you on that point. Okay. I do agree that there is such a thing as overcomplicating things too, right? Oftentimes it's best to give a guy one system to follow, let him follow that system very vigorously, and then teach him other systems and branch off. This is something that ideally I calibrate with my students. If I think my students are only going to be able to handle one system, I'll teach them a basic linear system. Most guys, though, appreciate understanding the multidimensional nature of the vortex. And finally, my last point here, I have borrowed terms from science without claiming that I'm using them in a scientific way. I state right in the beginning of my book, in the opening chapter, that this is nothing more than a mental construct that I have developed and that I have found useful and that my students have found useful. That's what it is. It's just an internal framework that if you learn the concepts, and there is some science to back up my concepts, it's not something I pulled out of my ass. It's rational, it's logical, there's science behind it as well. But the scientific terms that I've borrowed are simply to aid learning. They're not, I'm not making any claim of this being a hard science. It's definitely a malleable T with a lowercase t, as you like to say. This is not an uppercase T, it's a lowercase t. So I'm in 100% agreement with pretty much everything you just said, Ross.
Now, do you put that disclaimer in your book?
Indeed, I do.
Good for you.
I
That's
want you to read it, man. I'm telling you, I know you're probably sick of reading shit, but look, I wrote a kick-ass book, man. I really did. I think you're going to be very, uh, I think you're going to be very
well,
impressed by it.
well, okay. We'll find out how you can send me a copy. Okay.
I'm not going to sign it in the way that you asked me to, but I will sign it with another method,
Oh,
which is the pen. That's all right.
That's fine.
a different
I
kind of
we
pen.